Title reps, I just got back from a Tom Ferry conference, and he, on the first day in the first session, talked about what great businesses have in common. He gave us 7 things that he believes great businesses have in common, and I'm going to take those and apply them to our industry of being title reps. So stay tuned, because I'm going to go over them. I'm going to show you what I think you need to work on, what I'm working on personally, and what he really meant when he broke down each one of those 7. So let's get into it. All right, the first one, and I have my little notebook here in case I forget. He said, without a doubt, full stop, number 1 is that you've got to have a great, memorable, and even more important, recognizable brand. And he asked us in the audience to kind of self-identify and self-evaluate and say, is your brand recognizable? Well, I would venture to say that most title reps watching this video don't even have a brand. And if you do, are you even putting it out there so that people know about your brand? Another thing that I would say is that a lot of us have a lot of confusion over what a brand even is. I think it's really important as title reps to have a recognizable, memorable brand to where when people see it, they think of you right away and only have positive vibes. I started my brand several years ago, Texas Title Girl, out of necessity. COVID had just hit. I had to go home. Nobody knew who I was. I'd just gotten into business and I had to either quit or pivot. So I pivoted and I got on video. And as I've shared in other videos before, being able to get on video and get in front of people on a digital platform changed the trajectory of my business. It moved me to the front of the line when I came to prospecting. It was absolutely, without a doubt, the one thing that kept me from quitting, honestly, because I had such success with it. And I thought, if I keep doing this, I might just get somewhere. Because I got on video every day, week after week, month after month, it forced me to really think about, well, who am I? And what am I doing here? And what am I trying to convey to people? What am I selling? And that leads me to number 2. So the second thing that Tom talked about was that you've got to have a great product. And by the way, if you're not sure if you have a really recognizable brand, there's tons of books. There's all kinds of videos right here on YouTube that you can watch, but you can also reach out to me and I'd love to help you identify your unique brand. The second thing that Tom Ferry talked about was that you've got to have a great product. Now, for a title rep, we might stumble a moment there and say, okay, well, obviously my product is a title policy. But I would say that's not true. Your product is your escrow officer. So if you're just getting into the business, you've just moved title companies, you're thinking about moving title companies, you have got to have escrow officers, title agents, whatever you call them, that you can form a great relationship with and that are marketable. Because at the end of the day, as much as I would love to be the star of the show, thank you very much, I'm not. It is my job to be the brand and the face of the company, to go out and prospect and build relationships. But at the end of the day, if my escrow officers cannot close a deal, if they don't have amazing customer experience or customer service, then people are going to leave and they're not going to come back. And they're going to say, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with your company. Sorry, Sarah, you're great, but I'm not into it. So thankfully, that's not the case at my company. Thankfully, I have amazing, amazing escrow officers that I can market. And in a blog that I wrote recently on my blog, texastitlegirl.com, I wrote about being able to articulate not just features of a product, but also benefits. So go check that out if you want to. But really, you need to be able to articulate the benefits of using not only your company, but your specific escrow officer or officers. If you can't articulate their value, then you've got to sit down with them, start going to lunch with them, start talking to them on the phone, interview them, ask them really great questions about their customer service and what they offer. The other thing that I would say is when it comes to your product is that you need to also be able to deliver value. So this goes back to your personal brand a little bit. Because I got on video and it forced me to fast forward into what am I doing here? What am I actually talking about? And what am I selling? I knew my product was my escrow officers, but I knew that I could maybe sweeten the deal and get in front of agents a little quicker if I also had something to offer. If I had a product, if you will, that I could share with others in a way that would add value. So I started searching. This was, of course, 4.5, almost 5 years ago. And what I realized in my research is that most real estate agents at the time really didn't have a handle on social media. Of course, please remember, this was before TikTok was really a thing that adults were on. This was before personal branding became a big deal. The Kardashians were really the only one with a brand, right? So we didn't really understand it the way we do now. And I worked really hard and did as much as I could to get educated on that so that I could take that value into brokerages. I could do online Zoom meetings. I could meet one-on-one with agents and say, hey, here's how you can position yourself on social media and on digital platforms. And that became the product. So that's the second thing that Tom encouraged us to do. Let's talk about the third thing. The third thing, and I'm going to skim over some of these more than others, is that you need to have a great flywheel. If you don't have a flywheel, you don't know what a flywheel is, you can Google it. You can go on YouTube again. It is what some would say similar to a marketing funnel, but there's a lot of differences between a marketing funnel and a flywheel. A flywheel just keeps everything in motion. It keeps everything in motion, and everybody knows their role, and everybody knows their campaigns, and everybody knows their value proposition, and everybody knows their systems. And a flywheel just keeps feeding and feeding and feeding, and it never stops, versus all the way down, and then they have to get back up and go all the way down again, right? Not very scientific the way I explained it, but I get what he was saying when he's like, you got to have a flywheel. If you don't in your own personal business, if your company doesn't, if you're a small boutique company and you're lacking in tools and resources, then I would at least get online and start to research, how can we make things more efficient? How can we make things into a way that represents more of the flywheel analogy? Number four was great. He said, you've got to have wonderful and outstanding communication and presentation skills. Now, of course, he was speaking to realtors, so he was talking about when you go on listing appointments, even when you're hosting open houses, you want to be articulate, well-versed, and raise your status rather than lower your status. And I've mentioned this before, but if you're a title rep watching this, you probably know exactly what I mean when I say there are times when you walk in and you do feel like the donut girl. You do feel like, what do I have to offer that's valuable? What can I say, or how can I show up in a way that's going to be meaningful to others? So when you increase your presentation skills, when you're comfortable getting up and teaching a CE class, or just having a Zoom session where you can be the leader, the thought leader, where you can facilitate conversations, where you can communicate your thoughts in an articulate way, you're going to elevate your status. This is huge when it comes to our industry. I think it would help overall give title reps a better name in terms of the value that we bring and how we're seen in the eyes of either our competitors or our ideal client. So having great presentation skills, how do you get those? Well, obviously you can watch videos, you can read books, you can join classes, you can watch YouTube videos, but you can also do exactly what I'm doing, which is simply record yourself talking, record yourself teaching a class, and then watch it back. Tom also made this suggestion to his realtors. He said, you know what? Record your listing presentation so you can go back and watch it. I couldn't agree more. This is actually so much harder for me recording these videos in my home where there's nobody watching, because I know that if I mess up, I can go back and do it again. I actually do much better when I'm teaching in front of a live audience and I have no takebacks. Whatever I say is what I say, and we have to move on. Now, so there's just things that you do that you maybe aren't even realizing you're doing, that if you just cut them out, modify them, change them a little bit, it would elevate your speaking status to the nth degree. All right, number 5, Tom said you need to have a great innovation engine. What does that mean? Well, it's been a few days and I didn't take a lot of notes on this section, but here's what I'm going to say it means. And Tom, if you're watching, you can comment below and correct me if I'm wrong. So an innovation engine, I think that means a group of people or digital solutions like AI that can really help you not only work smarter, but work faster. You need to have something that's constantly able to spit out better processes, better ideas for your company, smarter ways to work, and ways that you can be innovative and bring new things to the market. I'll tell you a quick story. So at another conference I was at last year, Tom also mentioned that every 18 months, you need to bring something new into the marketplace. You need to introduce something completely new. You need to wow your current clients and consumers and try to attract new ones. That's not as easy as it sounds. And I would venture to say that 18 months is going to start to get shorter and shorter, more like 12 months, as we move forward in this digital world where we scroll, swipe, and our attention span gets smaller and smaller. So what I did a year ago is I thought, I'm going to have a little fun with my job. I'm going to push a few buttons. I will probably lose a few friends and make a few new ones in the meantime. And I got on Canva and I designed a shirt that said, Donut Girl. Why? Because if you're in our industry, you know that sometimes we are referred to as donut girls if you're a title rep or the taco guy. And I didn't want to be that. You know what? I'm going to wear this because my people know that I do so much more than deliver donuts. My competitors will look at that and be rubbed the wrong way a little bit, like, excuse me, speak for yourself. And I just thought, and I'm going to have fun. I want to make title sales fun again. So I wore these shirts and it did exactly what I hoped it would do. It ruffled some feathers. It got people talking. It was controversial, but not in the worst kind of way. And I made some new friends along the way. So going back to number 1, when Tom said, is your brand recognizable? You've got to have a memorable and recognizable brand. I have worked so hard on my brand, and yet I still feel like after 5 years, it is mildly recognizable. in the industry, I can go a lot of places and people go, oh, you're a Texas title girl, or you're the girl that has the fun, card. And that's all great. That's all branding and that's wonderful. But there's still so much more work to be done. And I know there are ways that I could do it. But I have to remember that my one job is to bring in title orders. And so I have to monitor how much time I spend doing that versus how much time I spend prospecting and bringing in business for my company, because that's obviously how I make a living. So I would say when it comes to having a really innovative engine, those are things that can also help you when it comes to your personal brand. All right, the sixth thing that Tom talked about was having a great team. I couldn't agree more. Now let's talk about how this applies to title reps and in our industry. Oftentimes you are a party of one. You are the only one out in the field. You're not working with other reps. You may not even see people from your office on a daily basis. Your team is there though, and you need to know who they are and what they do and the benefits they bring. For me, my team is my escrow officers. I have a sales team. There are other reps at my company and I love them and I adore them, but we don't work together. We're out prospecting. So we have a sales team that I can call on when I need help, which is crucial and critical. We want to be able to encourage each other. We compete against each other. We have fun together. We brainstorm together. We role play. And that's great. I have a solid team for that. But then I also have this other team that I'm essentially trying to market, and that's the escrow officers. Some of them work alone. Some of them work with assistants. I have to build a really strong rapport with them. So if you're just getting into the business and you don't even know who you're marketing, that needs to shift really quickly. Call me. I can help you. There are ways to have conversations with your escrow officers to increase communication, increase trust, and help them understand that you're not just out there all day drinking coffee and getting your nails done. I think sometimes reps have a bad rap in the industry. And if we increase that communication with our escrow officers, if we tell them where we're going to be that day, if we tell them where we've just been, hey, I just met with a great agent, I'm going to connect them to you. They have so much more confidence in what we're doing. If you don't know them and you're trying to get to know them, again, reach out to me and I'll give you some great conversation starters, if you will, so that you can understand, well, how do I get to know them and what do I need to be asking so that I can then take that information back into the marketplace when I'm meeting with agents. And now let's talk about the last thing, number 7, because I think it's fantastic. But before I do that, if you've not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. I post videos every week for title reps just like yourself who are either looking to grow your business, maybe you've become a bit stagnant, or you are just getting in the business and you've got to get your feet underneath you. And hit that button and then also hit the notification button so you can get alerted anytime I post new videos. Number 7, he was insistent that you have a great operating system. And I couldn't agree more. If you don't have a great CRM, go out and find one. If you're a boutique title company, you have a small operating budget, I still think it's worth researching. Just make sure that the CRM does what you need it to do based on the system you use internally, whether it's SoftPro or Qualia. You also want it to be able to accomplish tasks that a title rep needs it to accomplish, not just escrow officers, because those are the ones who are really going to be using it, the people who are out in the field. And I would say that not all CRMs obviously are created equal. And just because it was made for real estate doesn't mean it was created specifically with a title rep or a title company in mind. So you want to research those really well. You can always reach out to me and I could give you the name of a few. At the very least, use an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, you got to have something to track your data, to track your calls, to track your conversations, your open orders, your canceled orders, your closed orders, all the things that goes along with just running a business and keeping it operating and not drowning in information and not knowing what to do with that information. But here's the kicker. Tom knows that it's impossible for us to do all 7 of those. I listened to all those and I'm like, well, there's more than one that I need to do there. So he said, thank God. He said, focus on 2. Look at your list right now and choose the 2 that you want to focus on. So I want you to play this video back again if you need to. Maybe you were taking notes. Look down at your list right now and say, which are the 2 that I want to work on? For me personally, it's going to be number 1 and number 7. Number 1, because I know my brand could be so much better. It could be more recognizable. It could be stronger in my marketplace. So I'm going to continue to work on that. And then I'm also going to be working on number 7, even though I have a great CRM. I really started to buy into the power of it and what it can do for me. It can keep me organized. It can really help me accomplish more in a shorter amount of time. I still am not using it to its fullest capacity. So that's the commitment I'm making this year, is to commit to increasing my awareness when it comes to my branding and also using my CRM. So stay tuned for the next video. Thanks and have a great day.